Hello everyone, welcome back to YK Reviews. For today's review is going to be the follow-up to Child's Play 3, the next movie in the franchise, Bride of Chucky. So let's get into it here. Now with Bride of Chucky, it's the follow-up to the Child's Play 3 movie, and it sort of takes a more different tone to the previous three movies, taking on a more comedic, disappointing tone, let's say that. So with the Bride of Chucky, you've got the opening sequences, and like they don't disappoint in that. Like the opening sequences with this is you've got basically a cop, a police officer going into like this evidence locker room. You have like these little hints of horror type movies. You've got Freddy's mask, Michael Myers' mask, you've got Freddy Krueger's claw, so you've got like little like Easter eggs, little throws to the previous different like horror movies. I that put a smile on my face. I know like logic doesn't make sense having all of them in like one locker room, but it put a smile on my face. I like that Easter egg there. But you've got the police officer grabbing like a bag and going to like the police car and like calling the person that he's trying to meet up with to give them the bag, but he eventually opens up the bag and gets his throat slit by the introduction of the character Tiffany. So this character played by Jennifer Tilly. So she eventually got the police officer to get her the remains of Chucky, and I liked what they did with this part of the movie where like she basically stitched him up and put him back together in itself. And I love that look of Chucky. Like I love like the staples and like the line across his face. He looks even more menacing than the previous movies. He looks like he's been through hell, which honestly he has, especially in Child's Play 2 Toy Factory 1. Like he's gone through so much. Like his battle scars, you can see on his face. I really like the look of Chucky, and so I liked how they like did that, and like how they brought him basically back to like his physical looking self. But I wasn't a fan of like how they like brought him back to life, basically, because you get to like as the movie progresses, you get introduced to like the human characters of the movie, which we'll talk about eventually. But in terms of like the Chucky and the Tiffany aspect of it, so Tiffany's living in this caravan. So what she did is she put like this demonic like settings on the floor with like sand, putting Chucky in the middle, and basically is using a book called Voodoo for Dummies to do this chant to bring Chucky back to life, which I'm not a fan of. Like I understand the whole concept with the voodoo and like how that works and how they did it in the previous three movies. Like I had no problem with that. Like I know it's like a little cheat code that they have whenever like something they need to like bring it and like, all of that kind of stuff. But for then it to just have the chant be in like a Voodoo for Dummies type book, I just felt like it was very cheap and lessened the impact of like having Chucky being brought back to life. It's just basically saying like, oh, anybody could just do that then. Like anybody could just say that ritual and bring Chucky to life. Like it felt meaningless and weak. So I really didn't like what they did with that. But we get introduced to basically not Tiffany's boyfriend, but the person that is trying to like get into Tiffany's pants, pretending to like murder people so that he can like get into this group, because Tiffany only wants to be with people that murder. Like she gets a thrill out of all of that. So once she realizes that Chucky did come back to life, she eventually tricks this guy and like has him laid down on the bed, putting Chucky on top of him, doing this little like striptease dance kind of thing, teasing him about all of that. And eventually Chucky does this menacing thing and goes and kills him. And the kill itself was so disturbing. Like he rips the piercing out, and then he starts like smothering him, like sitting on the pillow and just having this casual conversation with Tiffany. We basically come to find out that Tiffany was in a relationship with Charles before he died. She thought that he was going to propose with like a ring that he had, but he was actually going to sell the ring. And so I liked that relationship, that aspect. Like you see more of a backstory of Charles and like what was happening in his life before the events of the first Child's Play movie, and the menacing person that he is. He's not interested in marriage or anything like that, and that kind of like turns on Tiffany, and I like that part. But then you have these stupid like scenes where you have Tiffany tickling Chucky. He is supposed to be like a serial killer. He is a slasher icon, and you've got him being tickled in the movie.
You're kind of cute. You're just like a little baby. Is the little baby ticklish? Is he? Is he? Is he? Is he? Is he? Is he?
I really don't know what they thought of when they came up with that. And so she eventually puts him in like a little bird cage, I think it was, and throws in like a bride doll in there. You've got him playing with these like toys, spelling out BITCH on there. It's just like stupid things like that. And then once he does like manage to escape, he eventually kills Tiffany, who's like in the bathtub watching like the Frankenstein wife movie, I think it was. And so like Chucky puts a TV in the bathtub, eventually like killing her, and only to like bring her back to life in that doll that she put him in the cage with. So you've got them two as a doll, and so then you've got the plot of the movie where it's Chucky basically saying that they need this amulet. So he's basically informing Tiffany that in order for them to like go back to being in human bodies, they need the amulet that was buried with him in Charles Lee Ray's body, essentially. So then you get to like the human aspect of this movie. You get introduced to these two lovebirds, where you've got the female character who her uncle is like the sheriff or the captain of like the police in the town, and he's doing everything he can to stop them from being together. Even has like one weirdo of an officer on his payroll, like stopping them any chance he gets, pulling them over any chance he gets, and he comes across so weird and like arrogant and annoying that like you're just waiting for Chucky to like kill him. Like that's what you're waiting for in this movie for that particular character. But then what they plan to do is that they plan on like running away, getting the van and just like driving off. Now the reason they're going to be running off in a van is because Tiffany needs this guy to transfer these two dolls, Chucky and Tiffany, to the grave of where Charles Lee Ray is, so that they can get the amulet. And so they get the van and they run away, but the sequence is that his girlfriend or love of his life, or whatever you want to call her, to get her stuff, and he's in the house like waiting for that. You've got Chucky and Tiffany in the van, and you have her uncle, the sheriff or whoever he is, trying to plant evidence in the van to like stop them. And the kill of that, and like how they killed him off with the like nail guns like in his head, and another like horror hint with him looking like Pinhead essentially from Hellraiser. And Chucky, like again, Chucky's one-liners just so brilliant.
Why does that look so familiar?
And even like the back and forth with Tiffany and Chucky, where she's trying to like explain to him how like old school it is using a knife. Nobody uses a knife.
For God's sake, Chucky, drag yourself into the 90s. Stabbings went out with Bundy and Dahmer. You look like Martha Stewart with that thing.
Who the fuck is Martha Stewart?
It was just funny, like the lines that they come up with in that, so I'll give them credit for that. But once they like kill off the sheriff, they put him in the like this, you open up the seat and you put him inside. I don't know what they call that in the van, but they start going off on this road trip basically, and again they get stopped by that police officer who's on the payroll of her uncle. And again, as like I mentioned, you're just waiting. So like Chucky comes up with a plan to like blow up the police car with the guy in, and honestly, the less said about that the better. Like good riddance, enjoy the afterlife. So they eventually like go on this road trip, and I like that they create this little tension between the human couples. Like they see this death, and they start like doubting each other, thinking that like one of the others is like responsible for that, planting that little seeds, which you just see the enjoyment in Chucky's eyes when this is happening. And so then, as the movie progresses, you see like the couple stop to get married, and they go to like this motel where you have one of the best kills in the movie and one of the most outrageous scenes in the movie for me. Like, you get to the motel, you see them like, you see the couple in the motel room, and then you see this other couple, like scam artist, steal their money, which then Tiffany notices that, so she goes and gets this champagne bottle, throws it to the ceiling, glass shattering everywhere, and the visuals, the look of this kill was just so fantastic. The best kill of this movie, hands down. Well, I like the pinhead looking kill, but yeah, no, this definitely is the best kill of the movie. Like, it just looked so fantastic and so amazing and stunning. So like, you have that perfect scene, and then you've got them mating with each other, and even the lines that they come up with, asking if I really don't know what to say about that scene. I really don't know what was going on with the writing team when they were coming up with this scene, the tickle scenes. Like, this movie had so many like highs, but equally just, this is like a low point as well, like this part of the movie. So they do that, then they like, our couple, the one that we've been following, see that like this couple got murdered. So once again, like, this doubt really starts to rise, and they eventually like call their friend. Like, one goes to a telephone booth, one calls from the hotel. They call their friend, who's like known them for so long. They eventually let it out that they can't do it, that they're like blaming each other, and you see that little interaction there. And once the friend realizes, like, smells this body and sees that it's her uncle in the van, he just gives up. And I thought his death scene it reminded me of like Final Destination type kills. It was very gory and messed up. Like, he goes onto the this highway and gets hit by a truck and just explodes. Like, it was just a very gory kill. And Chucky and Tiffany reveal themselves to this couple. They get into like this other caravan, and that's where I feel like there was also like highs and lows in that particular scene as well, that particular act, because you've got them fighting like a normal couple now. Like, you've got this couple turning Chucky and Tiffany on each other. Like, she's making these meatballs, she's making these cookies, he throws this line at her about washing the dishes, and they start like arguing about that, which then the couple take advantage of, put Tiffany in an oven, kick Chucky out of like the window, and it gets to like this whole third act. You've got to like this gravestone there at Charles Lee Ray's grave, and they're doing this exchange where the male has a burnt Tiffany, where she looks basically like how Chucky looked like in the first Child's Play movie, and you've got Chucky with the female character doing the exchange. Chucky and like Tiffany having this argument, fighting with each other, to eventually Chucky like stabbing Tiffany and like killing her, to then like leading now to like Chucky basically getting whacked with like the shovel, being in the grave, not being able to escape, getting killed there. And his lines at the end, where he says a great line, how he always comes back, but then the next line comes up with just wasn't as impactful as like saying how he always comes back. And so you get to like the ending of the movie in itself, and like, for me, I have mixed feelings. I've got a mixed bag with this one. Like, the follow-up movies, it's also again mixed feelings, but with this one you had such highs and such lows. Like, for example, like, once all of that happens, the very final scene of the movie is you see a burnt Tiffany giving birth to a little baby doll, a little baby Chucky. When I first saw this, I honestly thought, what the F is going on here? And like, I thought, okay, cool, there's gonna be like, that's how Chucky does come back to life, or like there's gonna be like Chucky comes back to life and he's got his son going on a killing spree. But we'll eventually talk about that in the next video here. But overall, for this movie, I don't think it was a terrible movie. Like I said, there was great kills, there was great lines, a bit of comedy in there that was thrown in, which I really enjoyed. But overall, is this one I would recommend? Yeah, I would recommend it just because it's a nice like follow-up to the trilogy. It introduces a great character in Tiffany. The kills in itself were very fantastic, so I would recommend this. But out of the 4 so far, this is probably at the bottom of the list, I would have to say. So if you've seen the movie though, let me know down in the comment section what you thought, what your thoughts about it were. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about the franchise in itself so far? Let me know down in the comment section below. But keep an eye out on the channels, hit the subscribe button, the like button, and that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos. There is going to be the follow-up to this movie, The Seed of Chucky, coming up, so keep an eye out on the channel there. But thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for listening though. This is YK Reviews. Peace.